What's happening to you guys? Have you been out in this Florida heat on a low tide and haven't been able to find any of the fish? You may be entitled to financial compensation. Just kidding. But, I struggled for a little bit and I've spent a ton of time on the water, so I'm going to show you guys what I've seen lately, what I've been doing lately, and what's been working for me lately. Hope you guys enjoy. Sit back and let's find some fish. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is when the low tide is. You can go on apps like Tides for Fishing. There's a couple different other ones, and you can see when this tide's going to be. I'm going to use yesterday, for example. We had an 11:42 low tide at about half a foot. The tidal coefficient yesterday was average, so we had an average amount of low tide. So I would say that the fish stayed out on that flat for a good amount of time. Maybe 2-3 hours we had of a low enough tide to keep those fish out there. Let me go ahead and show you guys what I'm talking about on the maps here. All right, let's talk about the where. So here's a good example that I can show you. This is Honeymoon Island area, and on a higher tide, all these fish are going to be back into this mangrove line, pushed into this mangrove line here, into this mangrove island there, just for safety, cover, etc. When that tide starts to come down and gets a little bit lower, the fish are going to be pushed out onto the grass flat, into this deeper water maybe. But where I've been seeing them the most is while they're on this grass flat, they're usually on or around these sandy patches here. I'll go ahead and show you guys some drone footage of what I'm talking about, and we'll break it down by species. So here's a nice sandy patch in the middle of one of those grass flats, and I'm just showing you guys so you can see that it is absolutely stacked full of life right now. Everything from mullet to catfish. We also have reds, snook, and trout in these sandy patches. All right, so first I'm going to talk about where I see the most speckled trout. I see the most speckled trout right where the edge of the grass flat and this sandy area meet. We're going to call that trouter space. The trout like this area because they can sit here and wait to ambush prey as it goes over the top of that seagrass into the shallower sandy area. Obviously, it's a great place to ambush prey. They'll sit right on the edges. You can throw anything from topwater, jerk baits, paddle tails, whatever over that. Trout will basically eat everything. Trout are the easiest fish to catch in this area, but also can be a great time if you just want to take people out and have them catch fish. Super easy, super fun. So let's talk about my favorite, which is the redfish. They're not only in those sandy areas, but they like to cruise around on the actual grass like they would do at other tides and dig their noses down into the grass for crabs, shrimp, fish, kind of whatever's down in there. Right here we see a couple good-sized reds, and this red on the top right up here sees something he likes down in the seagrass and goes right down for it. Along with getting a mouthful of what looks like sand, I assume he ate a fish, crab, or shrimp. Along with the reds eating down into the seagrass like this, I've been seeing them come up every once in a while in this shallow water and hit a topwater plug, hit a paddle tail. But what I'm seeing the most is them wanting jerk baits. So something that's going to go through the water, not make a lot of disturbance, preferably scented, that you can pop a couple times and let it sit down in that seagrass, and they'll dig down just like this and get it out. Let's watch that again in slow motion because it was such a sick shot. And just a quick aside, for anybody who fishes for sheepshead, every time I'm seeing these reds on the flats, they almost always have sheepshead around them or next to them or bothering them. Honestly, like in this shot, I'll zoom in and see if you guys can see it, but there's 3 sheepshead that come out of nowhere and just ride this red's tail. Let's talk about everybody's favorite, which are snook. So when I'm seeing snook out here in these low tide areas, I'm not having much luck catching them. I can every once in a while get them to come up and take a swipe at a topwater plug, but typically they're not feeding, and I think they're just hitting a topwater plug out of a defense mechanism or them being a little territorial, like get away from me kind of thing. But that's the only time that I'm really getting these snook. You can see here that they're really huddled up. They stay in different pods, and they kind of hang out together, usually 3 or 4 of them, all facing the same direction, just looking out. And, of course, every once in a while, there's a super annoying catfish that comes up and thinks he's a snook, and they're like, hey, bro, go away. All right, you guys. I appreciate you watching. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe. I hope this helped. You guys get out there. Don't get skunked, and I'll see you next week.